Hello and welcome back to another video. Today we'll start a bit of a different reading challenge for me. The physical books I own that I think have the prettiest cover. So this challenge, it was inspired by Cleopatra and Frankenstein by Coco Mellors, which I think this cover is really beautiful. And honestly, by reading this book for this video is kind of like cheating, because I'm already reading this book and I just want an excuse to talk about it. So the first book I will be finishing for this video will be this one, Cleopatra and Frankenstein by Coco Mellors. Now, let me present you all the other options, because I separated some of the books I think are the prettiest in my physical TBR, but then I ended up with like 15 books and I'm not reading 15 books. So let's choose which ones we will be talking about by the end of the video. The first book in my selection was The Wicked King by Holly Black. This is the second book in the Folk of the Air trilogy, or the sequel to The Cruel Prince. You decide how you prefer to call it. And I think this cover it's really beautiful because I got a bit spoiled about part of the plot of this book. I know Jude will be going to the water world or water ring of sorts. So I think it's really cool that we have this crown underwater. And the name of the book, I don't know if you can see well on the camera, but it is kind of like submerged and you can see kind of the water barrier cutting the name in half. So I think the design for this cover it's really cool, and that's why I added to the selection. The next book in this selection is To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf. This is a very kind of simple cover. It's just a painting of a beach and I just think it's cute. The third book is one I've had for so long in my physical TBR and I still really enjoy this cover, which is Beautiful World, Where Are You? What fell? My little bird decided to fly. So let's... Yeah, you do this with me. So yeah, going back, Beautiful World, Where Are You? I've had this book for quite some time and I still think this cover it's quite pretty, and so I put it in the list. Maybe this is the time I read this book. This one is a more recent purchase. It is Vox and this is a very simple cover. It's just white with the red name, but the thing I find it interesting is that the mouth of this woman here in the corner is being covered by the X, and this is a dystopia that takes place in a reality where women can only speak 100 words a day. So I think it's really cool that they put the X over the mouth. Now let's move to the second pile. These books, I just like the covers. They are my Verne books, but I'm not sure if I will read them. I have Around the World in 80 Days, 5 Weeks in a Balloon, and something about being underground. They are all classic sci-fi, and I don't know, I've been really enjoying classic sci-fi, but I think I've been reading quite a bit of it lately and maybe I should give a break. But let's decide. The next book is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. One of the reasons I bought this book is because I think the cover is beautiful and I was really looking forward to reading it, not only because of the hype, but because I knew they were changing the covers to the sequel of this book, because I believe there are 3 sequels. And they all had these beautiful covers that matched this one. And I was kind of excited to read this book, so I could decide if I wanted to buy the sequels or not in time to get the beautiful covers. The next book on my pile is The Blind Assassin by Margaret Atwood. And this book's just so floppy, and look at this cover. I'm not really sure what this book is about, but this cover intrigues me. Next one is I'm Glad My Mother Died by Jeanette McCurdy. I just like this cover. I think the yellow is just so happy in a way, and the combination of yellow and pink and Jeanette just in the cover, I don't know, I just like this cover and I think it's fun, even though the title doesn't seem fun, and it's kind of this sarcasm, ironic vibe of the cover that really attracts me. The next book in this pile is one I'm kind of intimidated by. It is Women Who Run with Rovers by Clarissa Pinkola Estes, and while I think this book seems really interesting, I think the cover is beautiful, I really want to read it, I just feel intimidated because I know it's a very long book. Let me check. This book is over 500 pages long, and I don't know, I'm not sure if this is the book I want to pick up right now, but maybe, I don't know when I want, so it's the time. The next book in the pile is In the Margins by Elena Ferrante, and this is a very simple cover. It just has this white, the black, but I think it's really cool that this book is about writing and reading, and if you pay attention, this little woman on the cover, I'm not sure if you can see it, there's a little woman on the cover and she's standing on the margins of a sheet of paper, and yeah, I think it's really cool. Next we have The Shadow and Bone by Lee Bardugo. I just put it here because I think this cover is beautiful. I kind of want to finish reading The Cruel Prince before starting the Krisha Furs, and I want to read the Krisha Furs all at once. So I just put it here because I think it's pretty. So let's already discard this option because I'm not reading that one. And then next we have The Invisible Life of Adi Lahu by V. Schwab. This one has been on my TBR for quite some time, so maybe it's a time. So let me figure out what I want to read, and then I'll give you the little update.
Few inches later.
The picks have been made, and let me show you the winners. So this was a very tight competition. I was really thinking about reading In the Margins, but I decided to not do it now, and instead I'm going to read I'm Glad My Mother Died by Jeanette McCurdy, because I really want to read this book, and every time I look at this book, I should still want to read it. I want to know what is inside of it. So we'll be doing this one. And then I'm also doing Magnolia Parks. Let me see if I like this one. So I guess next time I'll see you will be when I finish one of these books. Hi, hello. It's been kind of like a while, but I did finish the 3 books I said I was going to read, so let's review them now. The first book in the list was Cleopatra and Frankenstein by Coco Millers. I'm not sure how to pronounce. Ever since I started reading and I filmed that beginning part of the video, the introduction part of the video, I saw people pronouncing her name all different ways, and I'm no longer sure if I'm pronouncing correctly. But going back to the book, Cleopatra and Frankenstein, if I look down, by the way, it's because I have my little notes. But Cleopatra and Frankenstein, it follows 20-something-year-old Cleo and 40-something-year-old Frank. They meet on a New Year's Eve at the end of the 2000s. So they have this meet cute at a New Year's Eve party, and then a few months later they are married. Before I continue talking about this book, if you want to read it, please check the trigger warnings for it, because it talks quite a bit about mental health, and the characters use a significant amount of drugs throughout the novel. After they get married, Cleo and Frank, they develop kind of a codependent, dysfunctional relationship. We can't be sure if it was like this before, because we follow mostly after they got married, and they are very dysfunctional. The side characters, they are all actually like 99% of them are very unlikable, and you're not really rooting for them because they are not good people. And at moments, all the characters in this book, they can feel like they are caricatures of themselves or caricatures of something the author is trying to tell. So this might bother some people. For me, it was like, okay. But if you want a book where you have New York City as a background or as a side character, maybe you will enjoy this book, because even though the plot's not like Sex and the City vibes, but this book is Sex and the City vibes in the sense that It takes place in New York, and the city is a very important background character. But I would say this book is perfect for a Sally Rooney fan that wants a plot with more drugs and more unlikable characters. I have a feeling this is a book people who read it will either love or they will hate it. There will be very few in between, very few lukewarm opinions, because it's just I feel this is kind of difficult for this book. Personally, I do enjoy Sally Rooney, so I had a good time reading it. I gave it 4 stars, so it was not my favorite, but I still enjoyed the narrative. But to be honest, I don't think this is a book I would recommend for many people, because as I said, it is a very, you either love it or you either hate it. There is not much in between. The second book was Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings, and I think this book matches Cleopatra and Frankenstein in the sense that I also think lukewarm opinions won't be a strong suit for this, because the story, it doesn't really allow it. You either completely hate it, you either completely like it. So what Magnolia Parks follows, because if you remember, I had no idea what this book was about. So Magnolia Parks follows Magnolia and PJ Valentine. They are like these famous, very rich kids and socialites that live in fancy houses and fancy neighborhoods in London. And Magnolia and PJ, they are exes, but after they break up, they develop a very dysfunctional, not very healthy, very toxic friendship that sometimes border kind of, it's not really a relationship, but there's still a bit of romance there. It's not healthy at all. If you read it and you say, oh, I want what Magnolia and PJ has, please go to therapy, because it's not healthy and not recommended behavior, because their relationship slash friendship, it's so toxic. It's almost Chernobyl. Maybe it is even more toxic than Chernobyl, so proceed with caution if you ever get near these characters. That being said, I had an awesome amount of fun while reading this book, because it was just so, like, the book itself was very bingeable. But I'm going to say, I suspect the reason I love this book so much is mainly nostalgia, because even though this is not a book from when I was like a little kid, but this book feels like Gossip Girl, not the reboot. The OG Gossip Girl with Blair and Serena and Nate. This book feels like Gossip Girl. And I grew up with Gossip Girl. I loved Gossip Girl, as most teenage girls slash twins from the 2000s, 2010s did. I was really into Gossip Girl. And I actually read also the Gossip Girl books as a kid, which I don't think it was recommended. If you want to have a lot of fun, read about the dysfunctional friend group, Magnolia Parks. That being said, I did mention I thought the book was very bingeable. Magnolia Parks is a series. I believe last time I checked, I believe it's predicted to have 5 books. There are already 4 out, and I did already order the 2 next books in the series. But I don't know if this is a bingeable series. I have a feeling, at least for me, if I binge all the books all at once, I might get sick of it, because it's just so, like, I don't know how to describe it except OG Gossip Girl. So yeah, I gave this book 4 stars because I had fun. It's not perfect by any means, but it was fun. So let's move on to the next and third, the last book I was set to read, which is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. This is Jeanette's memoir. Jeanette, she was a child star. She was Sam at iCarly, which was a show I watched quite a lot as a kid. So also, in a way, there is kind of a nostalgic element to this book. I've been wanting to read it ever since it came out because the name, this name will catch your attention. And also, I only listened to good things about this book. I also heard it dealt with quite heavy topics and that I was going to hate her mother. And I finished this book and I can say I hate her mother, and nothing could have prepared me for this book. So the memoir, it sheds some light in the child acting industry, which was something I didn't know much about. It also shows the abuses she suffered in the hands not only of industry professionals, but also from her mom, who now I understand why the cashier at the bookstore said I was going to hate her. We also have explicit depictions of her eating disorder and basically how her experience as with abuse and with starting to work toward being a child start, how it affected her from childhood until she was an adult. The chapters are very short, which some people might not enjoy, some people might think it's choppy. I really enjoyed that. I think the writing was incredible. I could really hear her talking behind it, and it helped give that extra punch to what was happening in this book. In terms of rating, the rating someone's story is not really fair, so I rated it purely on the writing. I gave it 5 stars because I really enjoyed the writing, but also the book I really enjoyed. I think the message, I think it's a very powerful book and I would recommend to a lot of people. So yeah, if you like this video, give a like, subscribe. If there is any book you want me to read, please let me know, and I'll see you soon. Bye!